CID wanna CID, but bro, we can't get spun this whip. If you get spun this whip, it's like 10 plus years in a blood clot bin. I'm the shortest you on my block, but I still...
Really tragic story that happened on the 7th of January, or something that happened on the 7th of January 2025. So only 7 days into the new year. And in the UK, we were faced with the news of a young 14-year-old boy who was stabbed to death, sadly, on a bus in South London. Now, this happened in the middle of the afternoon, I believe. And definitely there would have been witnesses around. But again, it just begs the question of how many more young people have to die until this is really taken seriously. So if you're not from the UK, this is a big problem in the UK at the moment. As you can hear, I'm from London. So particularly in London, this is an ongoing issue. This is an ongoing concern that just seems to be getting worse and worse. So here we have the story of Kelyan Bokassa, 14 years old from Woolwich. He was stabbed to death on a bus in South London in the afternoon. We're talking daylight here. This happened on a weekday, so I believe that he was coming back from school, and tragically he lost his life to a stabbing from two potential unknown or known now males. This is such a sad story, and one where the papers, so I'm talking about the newspapers, proceeded to call him an aspiring rapper. And this is the thing that I don't like, is that his story, him as a boy, as a child himself, as a teenager, gets identified most likely as an aspiring rapper or rapper, which takes away, the actual person that he was. And this is not to say that he was perfect, because I'm sure that he had his flaws, and a lot of things have come out in terms of him having affiliation to different gangs or being involved in gang activity. And his mum even came out and said that she was worried about her son's life, and that she had asked for help before. I'm sure that she had probably begged for help and realized that her son was potentially at risk of harm. And tragically, this is something that has actually come to happen. He has, lost his life because of being harmed by probably somebody else's son. I think the people that the police are looking for are two young boys themselves. So again, that begs the question that they are somebody else's son. They have a mum, they have a dad, they have siblings, they have a family. But if whoever has done it have been the cause of this person's life, they've not only affected his life and ended his life in a tragic way, but this goes on to affect his family, this goes on to affect his friends, this goes on to affect anybody that knew him. This is a serious crime, and it's something that is not being taken seriously, especially in London, especially in all the kind of major cities in England, in the UK. It's not being taken seriously. And what is the answer to this? Because this is something that, I'm a mother, I don't want to wake up to keep hearing of stories of young, particularly young boys, I would say, because it doesn't happen to as many females as it does to males, and it does affect. This is something that has been affecting the Black community, and it's something that we have to stand up and talk about, and we have to be honest about this, and we have to really get to the root of the problem, because the government are not taking it seriously. How many more young boys need to lose their life until people stand up, until people listen, until people provide funding and support that is needed in these communities? Why are young boys, we have to ask the question, why are young boys, why are young males, around a particular age susceptible and vulnerable to gang activity? Where is the support? Where is the intervention to prevent this from happening before they get so deep in? Because once they are in, it's so hard for them to come out. By the time that they decide and realize that now this is not the life for them, in order to be able to leave a gang is so risky in itself. And if anybody is listening to this and you are in that situation, I urge you to don't just suffer in silence. Don't just think that it's going to get better and that you can get through it. No, you need to seek out help. You need to speak to people who are around you. You need to speak to people who do love you, and they will find a way to get you support, because this is not the way to live. You know, how can a 14-year-old be living a life like this? There was a story that he had been missing for 1 year. I don't know if this was immediately prior to his death, but how can a 14-year-old be missing for 1 year? That means that potentially he was like, what, 12 to 13 that he was missing, or 13 to 14 he was missing. That is so young. How does a young person so young survive in these streets, being missing with no money? Like, how are they surviving? And the concern is that a lot of young males are being groomed. They are being groomed into gangs, and there are older people that are overseeing this. And those people have to be called into account. Those people have to be questioned. Those people, need to suffer the consequences of the law, because you cannot be grooming young people. Young people are vulnerable as it is. You could be a good young person, but you're still vulnerable because of your age. So this has to stop on our London streets. He's not going to be, sadly, he won't be the only young person that's going to pass away this year from the same circumstances. It will literally be same story, different person. Unfortunately, it will. We're only in January and we still got 11 months of the year to go. So we definitely know that we are going to hear more stories of stabbings taking place in the UK. We're going to hear that, especially in London, it's going to happen. But how many times does it have to happen until we all stand up and say enough is enough? As I said, I'm a mother. I don't have a son. I have a daughter, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be affected by this. I am affected by this. My daughter's young as well. So, I could turn a blind eye to it, but I just can't do that. And so, I feel like this is definitely something to bring up. And it's definitely something to raise. We can't continue with just listening to the news day in, day out, and hearing stories of young people, especially black young males, being stabbed to death and just become so numb to it, to the point that we actually normalize it. This is not normal behavior. It is not normal for another 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old to be carrying a knife on a day-to-day basis and actually go and stab someone potentially several times. That is not normal behavior. And unfortunately, we are living in a society now where we're almost being accustomed to it. We're almost being dumbed down. We're almost being made to make it seem like it is normal, and it is not normal. Young people are dying in tragic circumstances. Young people are being brutally killed. You cannot tell me that that is normal behavior. That is not normal. So yeah, my condolences to his family, my condolences to his mum. People have said online, like, where's his dad? There's no mention of his dad. And again, that is a good point. Sometimes these things are so deeply entrenched, and does come down to the role models that someone has in their life and the father figures that they have around them. Sometimes that makes a big difference. Where he lives would make a difference as well. The environment that he's growing up in definitely sounds like somewhere where this type of activity is rife. So yeah, like I said, condolences to his mum. She has spoken out as well, and she has shared her story and given an insight into some of the worries and concerns that she had even when he was younger. I believe that he's been in care. He spent time in care when he was younger. There's a time where eventually he's obviously been groomed by gangs, and he's been involved in that activity, but became very secretive towards his mum. So even if she asked him, what's happening or what's going on, he wouldn't really share much information. So definitely for such a young person, he was only 14, to be going through this and to be carrying all of that on his head, on his shoulders, and not being able to feel like he could trust adults around him, because probably he felt like, what's going to happen? What are the repercussions of this if I share what is actually happening But the chances are, I can say I've worked with young people similar to him in the past, and I can definitely say that the chances are is that he was being groomed by a gang, and when he was missing, he was definitely living in what a lot of people refer to as a trap house, and that's where young people are taken, and the sole purpose of them being there is to sell drugs. So it's not a nice life. And we have to remember that he's only 14 years old. He's a child. He's not an adult. He might be acting like an adult because he doesn't really understand what he's involved in, but he definitely still is a child. And we, as adults, we as a society are there to protect children, regardless of their race, their background, ethnicity. They're in London. They're in a first world country. We are there to protect them. The government need to stand up and protect these young people because it's just going to keep happening and become worse and worse and worse. And the response from the government is pretty much non-existent. So yeah. And as a society, as a Black community, we need to face this on and try to tackle this. This is a concern. How are the knives ending up on the street? Who's giving it to them? Where are these young people purchasing it from? Because they're not getting it from their parents. They're not getting these type of weapons from their parents and just being handed it like it's a Christmas or birthday present. Let's be honest. Like there's a route, there's a way that they know how to access. Like if someone was to ask me how to go and purchase that, I would not know how to do that apart from the obvious way. But other ways of them getting these type of big weapons, I would not have any idea how to get hold of them. So why is that not being stopped? Why is that not being blocked? Why are young people still able to access these type of weapons in the first place? That is one question that I would have. Potentially, are they being brought onto the streets for a potential, for a reason? There's a conspiracy there that could go down a whole nother route. But young people are not just given these knives. They don't just have these type of weapons easily available to him. They have to be getting it from somewhere. And the fact that our numbers are saying that this is a serious issue in terms of young people being harmed in this way, that needs to be explored. So yeah, there's so many layers to it. And like I said, just condolences to his family. And another thing I wanted to say was, if anybody knows of any charities or any organizations or services apart from social services, but just any other services that offer support in terms of working with young people and mentoring them, or any like gangs, charities, like please drop them in the comments, because I'm just so interested to really tap into them and start working with them and seeing how I can even volunteer. It's that deep for me, and that's how people should be responding to it. This is a serious issue. So I know on Trending Talk, I want to talk about kind of more light-hearted celebrity news, but sometimes you just got to keep it real and talk about what is actually going on in the streets of London. And unfortunately, this is something that did happen last week on the streets of London, South London, and it was tragic, it was traumatic. It's going to have an effect and impact on many people, including the perpetrators. So we'll see how that unfolds. I'll keep you updated with this story because I'm sure that we'll get more information as the days go on. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Please let me know of any charities that you know of that work with gangs. Let me know, what do you think is a solution to this? Like, drop it in the comments. Let me know, what do you think is going to help to stop this tragedy from continuing to happen on our London streets?